Get me that quickly. We need more power.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Zukov. Here, have some vodka, my friend. We are all comrades here. Drink it, I said. You have been granted the privilege of being selected to participate in our super soldier program. Russia is ahead of the entire world in enhancements in biological enhancement research, but we must only select the best of the best. So you will be tested by playing a game. You must use your cunning, knowledge, and combat skills to defeat your competitors and amass the most fortune and glory. If you win, you will be allowed to join our program. If you lose, well, do you like roulette? That's a little joke. We will begin immediately. No, you may not have more vodka. Here is the official description. It is the late 1930s, and the world is in turmoil. Humanity is on the brink of war as imperialist nations in the Far East and Europe work aggressively to expand their domination. The Nazis have taken control of Germany and now spread darkness across the globe in their hunt for powerful occult artifacts that can give them the upper hand in the days to come. But the spirit of adventure and freedom won't be stamped out so easily. Heroic adventurers from around the world answer the call, racing against time to hunt down ancient artifacts, explore deadly temples, and fight back the powers of darkness from engulfing the world in flames. It is a race of good versus evil, and only a cunning and agile explorer can claim the ultimate prize of fortune and glory. There is a lot more, but you get the general idea. Now, please, watch this short video with everything you need to know.
Fortune and Glory is the most ambitious endeavor to date from Flying Frog Productions. If you're a fan of Indiana Jones, you will come to recognize and appreciate many of the elements in Fortune and Glory. The game is set in the 1930s, and you're an adventurer who is traveling the globe, looking for different artifacts. Finding them will earn you glory. Here's some glory for you. And selling them will earn you fortune. Would you like some fortune? Here you are. The first player to reach the predetermined amount of glory wins the game. The box is massive and filled with all kinds of shininess and plastic, all nicely molded. You've got plastic money in both blue and gold to represent fortune and glory, respectively. They look a bit like doubloons and are cool. I do want more. Look at these. Look, see? There are 8 character figures and boards to go with them. More on them in a bit. And the villain figures in red. Yes, I know you will. These are the unique villains, and they have their own villain cards to go with them. The bad guys in this game are the Nazis and the mob. Yeah, see? And they're out to cause you all sorts of difficulties, see? The remaining figures are the generic bad guys that pop up all over the board to cause you problems. I am generic Nazi. I am generic mob. The board is a full color, glossy map of the planet that will let you venture to the far corners of the earth, recovering ancient artifacts to earn you fortune and glory. A big bonus is the Zeppelin figure, which is pretty cool. Look at it. And the Aztec temples are great. Aztec temple. There are tons of cards and tokens. If you can see over this way, there's a whole bunch of cards. And we look over here, here's more cards. And tokens and dice that make this a pretty hefty package. And you'll need a nice sized table to set this game up on. As you can see, the one that I'm on is not quite big enough. You can play with 1 to 8 players, but of course, the more players that there are, the longer the game will take. But in this case, not as much as you would think. It scales fairly well, especially with the scaling chart in the rule book. Hello, I am a full color rule book. Lots of pages. 31. You can finish a 4 to 5 player game in an hour and a half, which is pretty good. I'm not going to describe this entire game to you. There are several ways to play, and the rule book is fairly thick. However, the game has separate quick start rules that will get you up and running in about a half an hour. That includes setting everything up. Each player has a character represented by a figure and their character board. The boards have all the info that you need to know about your characters with 4 main stats: combat, agility, cunning, and lore. Lore! These numbers tell you how many dice that you get to roll to pass various tests that you're going to face during the game. Everything is skill tests, including, of course, combat. You also have the number of wounds listed that you can take before you are knocked out. No one dies in this game, so there's no player elimination. But you can get knocked out and lose some of your stuff. The card also has your special abilities listed and your starting city. Start spreading the news. Your objective is to find and recover the artifacts that are on the board. There are always 4 artifacts waiting to be recovered. On the board you can see, okay, this temple is at one of them. And they have these little skull markers here. That's where you put them. That's where the artifact is located, which corresponds with these artifact cards that I'm going to show you. Basically, you randomly draw cards from the artifact and adventure decks. So, pull this card out of the adventure deck, pull that card from the artifact deck, right? And they form one complete artifact. The Orb of Medusa. See? It's worth 3 fortune, and you'll have to face 3 dangers in order to get it. The text on the adventure cards, which are this one here, is, can you see that text? I can't. It's pretty hard to read. And then at the bottom is this cursed text. Pretty tough to read too, so I don't bother to try. But it's specific things that happen at... some adventure cards have specific things that happen at that location. These are really easy to forget because it's written so small and inconspicuously that you just forget about it. So the artifacts are placed by drawing a random location from the location deck. Here's the location deck. Ancient Mountains. Look, it's down here on the map. So that's where you would place one of the skulls, and the other one that goes with that artifact goes on to the artifact, so you know where it's at. As I mentioned, the number on the one side is how much fortune you earn by getting this artifact, and this is how many dangers you have to overcome successfully in order to actually recover this artifact. During your turn, all of the players roll for initiative first. Anyone who rolls a 1 gets to draw an event card. There's a separate deck of event cards. And it's generally something that you hang on to which will help or hurt you or hurt another player when you play it. Let's see. Malaria. Play on any hero. They immediately take D6 hits. Okay, that could be bad for somebody else. The player winning the initiative roll goes first and then rolls again to move their figure. Each space on the board costs 1 to move through. Cities cost 1 to go into, land costs 1, and each water space has it listed how much it gets through it. So to get through the Atlantic, it's going to cost you 3 movement points. So your basic plan is to head towards an artifact and try to land on it so that you can encounter it during the adventure phase. During the adventure phase, you draw a card from the danger deck. Bum bum. These cards are double-sided with dangers on one side and cliffhangers on the other. They give you several options for setting this deck up because it's weird having double-sided cards. I use the simple pull the card from the bottom of the deck and discard to the top of the deck option. It was the easiest way to do it. And they suggested several different ways you could do it, and that's the one I picked. The danger lists some tests that you must pass by rolling dice using your skills. You need a certain number of successes that's listed on the danger card. So, for example, this one here. This is stowaway on a U-boat. Danger, Nazi, water, sneaking. It's worth 3 glory. Find a way to sneak aboard and take out the guards. So you can try a cunning roll and an agility roll. You'll need a 5 or more. You'll need 1 success for each. So let's say it's Sharon Hunter. And you have to do both because it says and. Or you could just fight somebody by drawing a Nazi enemies card from the Nazi enemies deck. And you could instead be facing the Nazi commander. No! So instead we'll just, we'll pretend we didn't look at that card. We're going to go with the cunning and agility rolls. So I'm going to need to get a 5 or more. My Sharon's cunning is 3. So she gets to roll 3 dice. So she needs at least 1 success because of the 1x there. And she needs a 5 or higher. Oh, and look at that. She rolled a 5. Yay, she passed the first test. Now she's going on to the agility test. Her agility is also 3, so she's going to get 3 dice. She needs to roll 5 or higher. She rolled a 6. She got her 1 success. And so she would pass this first danger. If you roll at least 1 success with your dice, you get to roll again. So that's the way you would get to roll. Some of them ask you to roll 3. Get multiple successes, like here. 2 successes on this one, but you don't have to get them all in one roll. If you get at least 1 success the first time, you roll again, and then you can possibly get the second success on the second roll. But if you fail, your turn ends completely, and the danger gets flipped over to the cliffhanger side of the card. So you're done, and next turn you're going to deal with this cliffhanger. In this case, it would have been nowhere to run. Fight. Draw a Nazi enemies card. If it's not keyword infantry, redraw. So, next turn, if Sharon hadn't passed this danger, she would immediately have to go into this fight. She can't move away. She's got to resolve the cliffhanger. She'll either pass it or get knocked out. If she gets knocked out, she goes back to her starting city, which is New York, and loses 1 die 6 of her stuff. If she does pass it, well, then she earns the glory and can proceed on to the next danger. You do face the dangers one by one during your turn, and you can choose to camp after you pass a danger, which allows you to heal and collect the glory for the dangers that you've passed. Or, and this is all during the same turn, you can press on to face the next danger. So you can say, all right, wait, I'm stopping there, and I'm going to collect my glory, and then you rest, you get all your health back, and then your turn's pretty much over. However, you could say, I'm going on to the next danger, because, each artifact takes multiple dangers. This one you're going to take 5 to get through eventually. If you get KO'd at any point, you'll lose the glory that you haven't collected. So it's like a press your luck kind of mechanic. If you defeat the number of dangers listed on the artifact, you get the artifact, and you place it next to your people's card. you can go to any city and sell it for the fortune that's listed on the card. So, so you don't get the fortune right away. You got to go to a city and then sell it. Depending on the type of game you're playing, the villains get to act next. In the competitive game, you don't fight villains, but you will face different bad guys during the game. In the co-op game, there are villains that travel the board attempting to recover artifacts as well. And they have a villain track, and this track goes up as they collect artifacts. If it reaches a certain point, then the villains win. And it does happen because I've lost games to the villains. The lousy so-and-sos. In the competitive and basic game, the first player to get 15 fortune and return to their home city wins the game. In the co-op game, there is a chart based on the number of players telling you how much fortune the group must amass in order to defeat the villains. There are a lot of other mechanics in the game that add a lot of theme. In a city, you have to draw a card from the city deck, which is usually a good thing, but occasionally isn't. Then you can use your glory to buy gear, or recruit allies, or pick up a common item. You can spend some of your precious fortune to actually fly from one city to another on the board. The board has different icons, which can come into play via different cards. For example, a sudden sandstorm could injure any character currently in a desert. Some spaces are deep jungle spaces that you have to spend a few turns actually searching for the artifact's location before you can start facing the dangers. Then there are temple artifacts that have their own special rules when they come up. There is a lot of game packed into this big box. So there's the best overview I could give. There's a lot more to it. Back to me.
The game runs very smoothly when playing the basic or the competitive game. The rules all make sense and it is easy to play. When you move into the co-op game and bring in the villains, it is where you will start having rules questions. The rules are there in the book for the most part, but they can be scattered about. So it is good to have a few games under your belt, and have read the book a few times before you bring in the villains. You'll find yourself saying, I know I read that somewhere, that this happens a lot, but you won't be able to locate it right away. However, this is balanced by the number of options given to you in the rules that should satisfy most styles of gameplay that your group might prefer. If you don't like roll and move aspect of the game, they have rules for movement without rolling dice. There are tons of rules for increasing or decreasing the difficulty. There are rules for playing with teams, and there are solo rules, and a bunch of optional rules like moving and attacking the Zeppelin, and destroying hidden enemy bases. They've really made an effort to put together a game that would appeal to a wide audience. And it works for the most part. I've had a lot of fun playing Fortune and Glory in both competitive and cooperative modes. Even playing solo, it is a lot of fun. The only negatives that I can point out is that the text on the adventure cards is hard to read. The rules can get confusing once the villains become involved, and there are a lot of cards with the patented flying frog glossy coating, so they are difficult to shuffle, and you have a lot of decks to shuffle. After a few games, I was able to set up a game in 10 minutes, as long as I had the other players shuffling the cards, so that is no big burden. This really is a fun game to play. It is one of those where you'll be sweating when you roll the dice and then let out a whoop of joy when they roll your way. I really want some different villains to face, so I'm looking forward to the expansions. I'd like to face a Cthulhu-type worldwide conspiracy. Maybe that shows up in the Crimson Hand expansion, I'm not sure. What about vampires? Or the Illuminati? Or Men in Black? Or the Knights Templar? There are a lot of possibilities, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with, because I want to play more and have even more variety. The cliffhanger mechanic is pretty exciting and such a great feature in this game. I recommend Fortune and Glory highly to anyone who likes this theme. Thank you for joining me for this review of Fortune and Glory from Flying Frog Productions. Let me know if you found this review helpful by leaving a comment or sending me an email at Elliott_Miller@voiceofe.com. You know, there is a website there at that address that you can go look at if you'd like. I suggest it. Or Facebook. Or Twitter. They're all there. Pinterest! Make sure you subscribe to the Voice of E channel on YouTube, as I'll have plenty of gaming, entertainment, and comic book coverage this year. And it should be a lot of fun. Thanks again. And until next time, keep your mind free. Prepare to launch.
Get me that 6. We need more power.